In this video, I'm going to start with the Lord's Prayer, then read to you from Voices from Ancient Egypt, an anthology of Middle Kingdom writings from R.B. Parkinson. And what I will read to you is a fragment of text on a temple in the Temple of Luxor and a hymn to the king. Okay, both of them address the king's role. One is as sun priest, the other as protector. So from Matthew 6, 9 through 13, New International Version, not necessarily the way I usually say the prayer, because I was raised as a Catholic, using a different version. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Amen. Now I will go to page 38. First I'll read you the description, then I'll read you what the text says in the translation of it. Now, one of the 18th dynasty rooms in the temple at Luxor contains a cryptically arranged version of a text which is found in other temples and tombs of the New Kingdom and late period, having been adopted by private individuals for funerary use. In its original form, it is an unusually descriptive text about the kings worshipping the rising sun, which at Luxor forms an extended caption on a scene of King Amenhotep III before the solar bark. The language and orthography suggests a composition date before the end of the Middle Kingdom, although these features may be later archaisms. The first section comprises two stanzas which concern the sunrise, and the second presents the king as the possessor of an arcane and mystical knowledge. The resonant lines of the third form an unusually explicit analysis of the king's rule in relation to the gods, men, and the dead, acting out Re's creation of truth on earth. His role of intermediary is thematically linked to the context of the whole. For sunrise is a transition from the world of the divine to the land of the living. The expression of the communion of the two worlds reaches a climax at the conclusion, when the king is likened to the God he is worshipped, and he is worshipping. It begins. King N praises Re at dawn. At his coming forth, as he opens his primordial egg and climbs to heaven as Kepri. He enters at the mouth. He comes forth from the thighs, at his manifestations of the east of heaven, as his father Osiris raises him, as the arms of He and Het receiving him, as he comes to rest in the morning bark. King N knows this secret speech which the eastern souls say, as they sing acclamations to Re, as he rises and appears in the horizon. The bolts open for him, in the portals of the eastern horizon, so that he shall sail on the waves of the sky. He knows their secret images, their forms, their towns, which are in God's land. He knows the place where they stand at Re's setting forth. He knows that speech. Remember, Psalms talks about the speech of the heavens, and the heavens declaring the glory of God and bringing forth his speech in all speeches, all manners of speaking. It continues, which the crew says when they drag the bark of the horizon dweller. He knows the manifestations of Re and his forms which are in the flood. He knows this secret portal through which the great God comes forth. He knows he who is in the morning bark, the great leader in the evening bark. He knows your fields in the horizon, your courses which are in heaven. Re has placed King N in the land of the living for eternity and all time, for judging men, for making the gods content, for creating truth for destroying evil. Notice it says God alone shall judge you in the Bible, and as you judge, you shall be judged. This is a measure that God uses, the divine measure. As so is also said in the text on the temple at Luxor. Now, I will go on. I was going to read to you a royal act of the building inscription at Senusret the First, but I only have time for one more. I'm going to skip right to the King as Protector, a hymn to Senusret III, page 46. I don't have time for the description, just for the hymn, so here we go. How great is the Lord of his city! He is unique and millionfold. 1,000 other men are little. How great is the Lord of his city! Lo, he is a dike, damming the river against its flood of waters. How great is the Lord of his city! Lo, he is a chamber, letting a man sleep till dawn. How great is the Lord of his city! Lo, he is a rampart, walled with copper of Sinai. How great is the Lord of his city! Lo, he is refuge, whose hold does not slip. How great is the Lord of his city! Lo, he is a shelter, rescuing the fearful from his enemies. How great is the Lord of his city! Lo, he is an overflowing shade, cool in summer. How great is the Lord of his city! Lo, he is a warm corner, dry in the wintertime. How great is the Lord of his city! Lo, he is a mountain, shutting out the gale at the time of the sky's storm. How great is the Lord of his city! Lo, he is Sekhmet, against his enemies who have trodden on his boundaries. Now, so I have a couple minutes left. I will read you briefly the description and a few connections, and I will end it. This is the third of a cycle of hymns to Senusret III, which was found in the pyramid town of El Lahun, which was probably part of a temple archive there. The hymns were perhaps intended for recitation at a royal visit, or more probably as a ritual, as part of a royal cult in the temple. The hymn is structured by a refrain which is occupied at once, with the rest of the stanzas written as single indented lines. It extols the royal power as a personal force in it. The central authority assumes the role of a local ruler. The metaphors are frequently intimate and domestic, but they also embrace state and cosmic protections, and the last assimilates the royal guardian with the divine. So you see how Jesus compares himself to 12 things, at least. The shepherd of the sheep, the light, the vine, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, etc., etc. And it also compares the beings, the deities, the gods, if you will, that are inspired by the Spirit of God as taking on these roles as well. So this reinforces the connection of the Illuminati to Egypt, as well as the sun connections in the Bible, and the idea that the Bible and the Jews, following Moses, who was a servant for the high priest of the Sun Temple, and of the temples, and of the royal temple of the Pharaoh, and the royal cult of the Pharaoh. Remember, there are many temples, many cults, and some cults are based around temples. Most cults are based around gods, and some around dynasties, and individual pharaohs. As you can see, the ideas had come from the Middle Kingdom, the Old Kingdom, and the pre-dynastic period of time before they entered the New Kingdom, before they entered the foreign period. There's a difference between antiquity and ancient Egypt. Thank you.